All right, good morning. Okay, it's Firearms Friday. Got a new shirt on. Haha. I picked up. You see, got the crabs, the little nines on, right? Rock and roll. Picked these up at a gun show last weekend at the American Legion. Uh, y'all, it's been good to get back to work this week. The last several weeks, my in-laws were in town. It was great to see them. Great to spend some time with them, and I got to tell you a story, a little bit of a story. Hopefully, we'll see the name pop up over here. I don't see him yet, but in fairness, there's a 3 hour time difference. My in-laws live in frickin' Spokane, Washington, and they were visiting, and there just happened to be a gun show where I just happen to know the guy organizing it, and it just happens to be at an American Legion, while my father-in-law is in town from Spokane, Washington. So I went to visit them one time, and he took me to a pot dispensary. So Mario's with us this morning. Mario, have you ever been to one of the pot dispensaries?
Uh, yeah, I have. They're everywhere now in Florida. So
Oh, are they?
yeah,
Oh,
it's
fun.
mostly the well,
Excellent. And he's watching. Good morning.
is that Borkum?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, the boomers rediscovered weed here in Florida. So yeah, nice to they're all high, all of them.
Yeah, we don't have those in Georgia yet. Yeah, I've never been a pot smoker. Not my thing. Never got into it. Tried it a couple times when I was a teenager, and I looked at my watch and I did a little math and I thought to myself, you know, in the current climate, this doesn't jive with my risk reward matrix. I don't get enough out of it to justify the expense, so no dice. But but Paul took me to the dispensary in Spokane when we were there a few years ago, and I've told this story on air a few times, brother. It was genius. You you walk in, you've got big glass display cases with just wads of pot, just like it looks like the gotcha scene from a DEA propaganda film, and all the retail workers, all the girls at the cash register, it's all women, right? They're all somewhere in that 22 to 26 area, hot
They're
little
all
skinny co-heads.
yeah, they're all
Co-heads.
tatted out nose ring thoughts.
Oh yeah,
Yep, yep.
oh yeah, in their little cut-off shorty shorts and they're tied up halter tops, titties out, just. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, the only thing you could have done better as a business model would be to park a permanent Girl Scout cookie installation directly in front of the building. That's it. And I got some hash cookies that were like gourmet, uh, limited run, freaking white chocolate macadamia nut toasted. Just they were delicious. They weren't very effective, but they were delicious. But after having done that, when I was up there with him, Paul's down here to visit. I'm like, okay, where do I take Washington, man? Fucking gun show time. And I didn't buy any guns at the gun show. I passingly considered it, but I was really visiting and talking to friends and hanging out. But I did buy 3 of these shirts, and I'm going to get a few more of them. Um, they're the Hawaiian shirts. This company, Retro Rifle, their 4XL happens to be about the right cut, right fit. One of the problems I run into with these shirts often is that if I buy them off the rack, they're too short for concealed carry. But obviously, that's part of what these guys plan on. So they cut them for concealed carry, which is pro tip. You're dealing with an old white guy in a Hawaiian shirt. He's wearing a gun.
Well, it's like it's one of the things in Florida, generally speaking, the like psychotic and like crazy crimes just randomly occurring on the streets, like in say Illinois, Maryland, okay, California, etc. Those things generally don't happen here because you have to take into account that every middle-aged white man that you see probably has a gun. So it's not an easy target. It's not an easy target environment.
Right. And yeah, I'm really happy with these. You know, my wife makes all my shirts except for these gun-themed ones now. My only complaint is they've only got the one pocket. My bespoke custom-fitted shirts, they have 4 pockets.
That
They're in the Guayabera style, and you know, there's just something about a tactical Aloha shirt that
yeah.
does it for me.
So that said about Florida, well, it is Florida, so you know, with meth, all things are possible. Okay, but generally,
Yeah,
as we will discover today,
you missed it. You missed it last week, Mario. You know what? I want to pull that story up again this morning. I usually don't redo stories, but we're going to cover one of last week's stories again this week, just because I've got Mario for it, and hell yeah. Mal Wilbanks recognizes Raoul the Crab, and Patrick mentions, "Do not kowtow!" So that is a very in joke for some of you, and that's a reference to Dungeon Crawler Carl, which we will be discussing on one of the deep dives in a few weeks in the context of examining the philosophical and political implications of developing artificial intelligence. But do not kowtow! So this morning, before we get to the DGUs, for one, because I want to take advantage of the notes in the algorithm, the film Ballerina it comes out today. This is a movie from the John Wick world, and there's a reason I want to talk about it on Firearms Friday. Mario, you've seen the John Wick films, right?
yes, of course.
Okay. I enjoyed the hell out of the John Wick films, and if I'm being honest, when Fee and the wife and I went and saw it all 3 of them in the theater. I think we saw all 3 of them in the theater. No, I didn't see the first one in the theater, and then I went back to the theater for the sequels because I enjoyed the first one so much. Anyway, you know, and of course, you know, we're leaving the third one, and they really made a point out of his suit being armored. So of course I Googled, you know, bulletproof suit as soon as we go to the theater, and it is absolutely a thing. It's not quite as bulletproof as they make it out to be in the film. Obviously, you got a little superhero action going on there, but yeah, you can buy custom tailored bulletproof suits.
Yep.
Vis-a-vis the John Wick, yeah.
The reason the John Wick movies are so popular, they're great. They are good. They're good action movies, okay, and the fight scene choreography is incredible. All right, but the other reason is that basically most of those movies were produced during like peak woke period. You know what I mean? And Keanu Reeves,
messaging.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves, much like Tom Cruise, is one of those. It shouldn't even be a gift; it's common sense. But he's one of those gifted actors who knows how to produce high quality entertainment without showing his ass to the country by spouting off his beliefs, okay, about whatever. So,
yeah, you know,
valuable lesson for Hollywood. This shouldn't be difficult.
Yeah, and for all the actors out there, hey, this is America, land of the free. You can have opinions, right? But just like when I order my cheeseburger, I want a cheeseburger. I don't want a rainbow fucking bagel.
Yeah.
Right? I want a cheeseburger. When I want to see an action film, I don't need a bunch of messaging. Now, in fairness, I have not seen Ballerina. We're going to watch the trailer with you and talk about some stuff here. And I'd like to point out, we're not talking about the Donald Trump, Elon Musk breakup thing this morning, because it is the gayest thing that's happened in Pride Month, and we're not going to waste our time on that nonsense. But speaking of gender confusion, here's what's going on. John Wick is a series of action flicks where a badass man whoops the shit out of a bunch of other badass men with fist fights and gunplay, and it's awesome. Now, Mario and I were talking about this a little bit before this. We'll get into that after. Let's watch a bit of the trailer.
Roll that beautiful beat footage.
When you think of me, you should think of fire.
I know you. I know your pain.
Okay, and right there we open with her beating on a punching bag. right? We open with her beating on a punching bag. Okay, bring your camera back up, Mario. And I don't think the cameras cover enough that we need to cut them off for the
She's a little
conversation.
girl. Okay, like I'm getting a. I didn't watch any of the new Star Wars movies, so forgive me. But the stupid Jedi female lead of the new series who
Ray.
never Ray, yeah, who never had to do
Yeah,
any
the
like
stupid
intense
female lead
training.
with a man's name.
Yeah, yeah, who's basically after the half a movie's character development suddenly is able to overpower Luke Skywalker or whatever. Yeah, I'm getting those kind of vibes here. I don't like it. She looks like a little girl. Maybe you should like have got like Uma Thurman could have sold it better in Kill Bill because she's like a tall, angular, like white knuckled freaking woman. You know what I mean? Her with a katana, it made a little more sense. It was a little more intimidating. This looks like pre-tranny Elliot Page. You know what I mean? Not it's not doing it for me already.
Right. And so we talk about this on Firearms Friday often. Firearms, great equalizer. Ladies, you are not a feminist. If you want to call yourself a feminist, buy a gun. Learn how to use it. Right? Remember, Mario, remember doing combatives, not just at DLI, but especially in Bravo Company, right?
Yeah.
You've got big, strong men like me and tiny little girls like I forget her name, but you remember the little short redheaded chick that was there with us?
No.
It guys, okay. Whew, okay, DLI is one of those army schools that you go to immediately after basic combat training.
Yes.
Right? It's an A school.
Mhm.
Right? It's an MOS school. And it's well, that's less important. So what you have at DLI, especially when we still had a Bravo company, which was actually they got rid of the Bravo unit in the way that you and I remember it before I left there. But the Bravo unit was the intake unit. So you come straight from basic into Bravo. You've just been in basic for 3 months, and you probably weren't getting laid while you were there. And most of you, like Mario and I were exception. We were old privates when we joined the Army. I was 24, almost 25 when I joined the Army. Mario too, right? So, a little bit different world for us, but the majority of the people that we were at Bravo with were 18, 19, 20-year-olds that had come almost, most of them straight out of high school into the Army, went through basic. They get out of basic. They've suddenly got a little money in their pocket, and they haven't been laid in a quarter of a year, and they've been thrown into this college setting in, let's be real. It's not just that DLI is a party school. DLI is a school in a town with a couple of other major liberal colleges and the Navy postgraduate school.
Yeah.
Monterey, California is a college party town.
It's also rich.
Yes, it is a rich party college town.
Pebble Beach, the world-class golf course, golf club, country club, is right next door.
And so, what do we do with all these hormone?
Sea is like gorgeous area, incredible. Like Clint Eastwood was there. He was the mayor.
Exactly.
Anyway,
and so what do we do with all these ticking hormonal time bombs that have just been sexually repressed for a quarter of a year, while also achieving probably the greatest level of physical fitness in their entire natural lives?
You lock them in the room, call them filthy animals, tell them they didn't tell them there was a scuff on their shoe, and that's why they have to stay in prison for 2 more weeks.
Yeah, there's that. But then you take them into an open gym with squishy mats and have them engage in co-ed, hand-to-hand combat, wrestling. You put them on the mat. All right, boys and girls, get to it. There's a picture of me on the cover of a newspaper from that era. They matched me up with this 5'0" skinny little redheaded chick to do Gracie Jiu-Jitsu training, and the reporter snapped a picture as I straddled her and had her by the collar and had my hand up like this, right? Because I was reaching into the other side of her collar to put on the collar choke, but the photo looks like I'm choking her with one hand and about to just ram my spear hand through her face. I couldn't find a copy of the picture, but it was an awful. It is a great picture, but it does not paint a great story for the military because you got 300-pound man, 12-pound girl, Gah! And then there was another one, right? And this is chicks in hand to hand. We don't do weight classes for hand to hand training because the theory is everybody needs to be able to handle any situation. And the fact is, not everybody can handle any situation. So that's what guns are for, exactly. So you fast forward a few years, I'm doing combatives training again, and I get paired up with amusingly another redheaded chick, tall girl though, 6'1", but maybe $150, $160, right? And we're doing combatives in full battle rattle, right, in body armor and everything. So, yeah. Well, in full battle rattle, I weigh almost 400 pounds. This is 15 years and 60 pounds ago. In battle rattle, I weigh almost 400 pounds.
Squish.
And this Sergeant Rangel was her name. And I liked her. She was a good NCO, good chick. She was cool. But we get in the ring to fight, and somebody has put it in her head that the guard is a dominant position. Technically, it is, but understand if you guys aren't familiar with jiu-jitsu, Gracie jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts, etc., to have someone in your guard is the exact same position as to have somebody going missionary on you. And I put it in that context for a reason. So this chick was trained that the guard is a dominant position from which you can apply various chokes, arm bars, etc. So they ring the bell. She dives forward and grabs the front of my body armor and jumps up and wraps her legs around my waist and throws herself backwards to use her body weight to throw me off balance. She wasn't heavy enough for her body weight to throw me off balance and fall over on top of her into her guard like she planned, but her plan was clearly to pull me into her guard. So I just went ahead and let it happen and fell with her to the mat. And then I'm laying on top of her with her legs wrapped around my waist, and I just whispered in her ear, "You didn't think this through, did you, Sergeant?" Because what are you going to do? You got a 400-pound man on top of you. What? You're going to choke him with your little lady fingers?
Yeah. Yeah, but
that's why you should have a gun.
Yep.
Right?
So if you're gonna, you're only in a situation like that. One, you would not want to try to get them in the guard. Two, against you, I gotta go. If I sparred with you, I would go for your neck. I have to go for your neck. Like that's the only thing. That's the only part of you that I'm going to actually be able to manipulate if I can get around it properly.
Yeah, you must get the rear naked choke or a triangle.
I must get your neck. I must triangle you. I must rear naked you, and I have to deal with the fact that you are going to lift me and attempt to smear me on the mat. Okay, multiple times if I should even get you in that position. So, it's even me. I cannot defeat Lowry in combatives. Okay,
so that you guys understand a little context here.
He picks me up like Bam Bam from the Flintstones and just.
Mario was not describing hypotheticals. Mario is not describing hypotheticals. I've actually done this.
It's real.
I got you. Do you? I've found that to be very effective. Remember the big French guy that got me in the arm bar? I just stood up and just started whacking his head on the.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name. He was an all right guy, but he didn't make it. So you got this chick fighting, beating a punching bag. Okay, sure, it's great for cardio, but they're trying to inform us that what's going on here is she's being trained as an assassin.
I wanted to say something real quick. To Unverified Bear says, imagine getting beaten up by a 55-kilogram woman. I'm going to be honest with you, Unverified. Americans don't know what 55 kilograms is. Okay, you need to translate that into freedom units, or use God's original weight and measure system, which is stone. Americans understand how many stone you weigh. Okay, continue.
No, Mario, you and I may. Americans generally don't. If you try to tell an American somebody weighs X stone, they think that you're explaining this person is this high.
No, but they are going to think of like a pile of that many rocks, and they're going to be more or less correct. And this is approximately how much they weigh.
This isn't done until they're dead.
See, right there. No go. Right? Okay, so sure, she can train to be fast. Okay. Watch this cat with the knife. With the butcher knife. He's not significantly larger than her, but he is larger than her. Right? And here's the thing. A man who is taller than a woman and roughly similar in trim, right? So we're not talking about one of them is obviously substantially fatter than the other one. The man weighs more. Well, he's probably 10 to 15% because of muscle mass.
He's probably got 6 inches of reach on her, and he's wielding a cleaver. That's bad news bears. Okay, no.
Right, and so you see, and remember, we know this is fantasy, but here's the point: you're selling them this fantasy. Selling women this fantasy that they can be as strong and fight as hard as a man is how poor Sergeant Rangel found herself under 400 pounds of, I don't have to do anything, sweetheart. I can just lay here and wait for you to suffocate.
Yep.
So she blocks that strike? No way. No, she didn't. So every time he swung in,
when you think of me,
she did not have that. And I don't want to spend the whole show on this. We've spent enough time on that.
Well, then just play it and stop talking.
I was going to say we're done with it. We've covered what I wanted to cover about it. If you guys want to watch the whole trailer, please feel free.
No, we don't.
And fair play, I will see this movie because it's part of the John Wick series, and I'm a bit of a completionist. Even though I refuse to watch the last couple of Disney Star Wars films.
When I gave up. You know when I gave up on Star Wars? Episode 1, 1999. That was it. Done.
I didn't give up at that point. I was entertained by the 3 prequels. It was worth sticking around for the Yoda fights, seeing the whole thing with Yoda go Squirrel Master. That was a lot of fun. Jar Jar Binks, I didn't take Jar Jar Binks as a total middle finger to the audience, because going in I understood, okay, these movies are for children, and that's fair play. But going into the Disney Star Wars films, especially frickin' Solo, we're supposed to be the backstory of Han Solo, and I'm spending the movie listening to this frickin' robot radical feminist talk about organizing all the robots for gender equality. What? You lost me. You lost my money. You lost my support. You lost my interest. We're done. Right? I'm not even sure if I want my kids to watch the Star Wars the original Star Wars movies now, just because I don't want their hearts to be broken by that garbage.
I could even argue that I gave up on Star Wars after remember when we were in high school, they did the digital re-release of the original trilogy, right? And
Yes.
George Lucas made his my little additions that I had to make to now with the CGI I can fully realize my vision, right? And he puts the scene in Return of the Jedi where it was like that obnoxious music scene in Jabba the Hutt's palace, like that
Right.
might have been the end for me. Okay, but
They almost completely lost me when Guido shot first.
yeah, that was blasphemy. Like the series began, the re-release began with blasphemy.
Well, I mean, we don't think Han Solo is the kind of character that would shoot first.
Yes, he is.
Have you met Han Solo? Have you heard of Han Solo? Like,
yeah.
Even if the character that you want him to become after a redemptive story arc is the kind of guy who wouldn't shoot first, which, by the way, is not a moral positive, you sick fuck. The bad guy, right, the space pirate smuggler that he began as before that redemptive arc, is absolutely the kind of guy that shoots first.
Yeah. Solo grew up in abject poverty and misery. Okay, like he
started his adventure arc as a runaway slave.
Yeah. His character development at the beginning was basically anything he had to do to survive is what he would do, and that would include shooting first, especially against some green alien Greedo, right?
Yeah. And okay, didn't mean to get to. I will say this one thing in defense of the movie Solo, which was one of the Disney cinematic abortions. And it's been out long enough that if you're hearing a spoiler here, that's your fault, your problem. I don't care.
You can't.
There's a scene at the end of Solo where he's confronting the bad guy. It's like the end of the movie. This is the ultimate resolution. He's confronting the bad guy, and in that moment, Solo, in fact, draws and shoots first. In fact, he even does it kind of on the surreptitiously. One of those, well, let's throw away our weapons and fight like men. Okay, let's throw away all our weapons and fight like men. Okay, we threw away all our weapons. Well, almost. Boom! Because I'm not an idiot. And he does shoot first, and there's a little bit of redemption for the character and a little bit of kind of theoretical redemption for the whole Guido controversy. But still, fuck your fembots.
Yeah, I couldn't watch Solo. Look, I mean, whatever. It's Firearm Friday. Where we're going, we don't need rails. Okay, we're not.
Correct.
I couldn't watch Solo. Okay, I tried to watch it at least 3 different occasions. I would make it about a halfway or like maybe a half hour into the movie, and then I'd either fall asleep or like something more interesting would happen. Like oh hey look, those 2 cats are fighting. Let me go watch that instead.
Oh, hey, look, my toenails are growing again. What do you know? Oh, they're really getting away from me.
I was trying because I actually wanted an origin story of Han Solo. That sounded like a great premise for a movie, and
he is one of the iconic characters of all cinema history.
Maybe I'm not a student of film. I couldn't really explain why, but it's actively not entertaining me. It's like it's providing me negative value where there was like an entertainment slot waiting to be filled. Okay, something is wrong with this movie, and I can't quite put my finger on it.
You know what? We could do a whole show just talking about that. There were all kind of bad design choices, bad framing choices, bad film grammar, bad cinema grammar, bad lighting decisions.
Okay, I have an idea. What if one of our, instead of doing a Saturday Night Deep Dive, what if we do like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 one, just as a joke one time? You know what I mean? Or just for entertainment. And basically we'll watch a movie and we'll just pillory it.
I'm not sure how to go about doing that. legally.
Fair use,
I'll let,
right?
I think so. I'm not sure if we'd have to pause it periodically as we go through, but we should look at that because it would actually be a lot of fun. Especially if it's me, you, and Cameron doing it, because that'd be a lot of fun. So I'm going to do this story again. This is a DGU that I did last week, but Mario's here, and this is a particularly amusing DGU.
I'm listening.
Absolutely. So, and I'm using a different article for the same story, just for a little extra flavor. And I tell you guys this: I actually have been working on creating an AI film out of this story because it really is that fun and funny. It honestly, I could have had the film done already. It would have been amusing, but it wouldn't have been high quality. So I'm working on getting character consistency, and there are some quirks to AI filmmaking right now that are probably going to go away in a year. I don't think I'm going to wait a year to make that. So that's in the works. So, Florida man shot by deputies after alligator attack and charging officers with garden shears. Yes, Mario, that's just the headline.
Based.
Now, this is in Polk County, Florida. You know where that is?
Yeah, absolutely. That's with the famous Sheriff Judd.
It is.
When people think of Florida sheriff, they think of Judd.
He's what was it that he said?
I think it's Grady. Is it Grady? Whatever.
Yeah, it's Grady Judd.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he said something about he's made a few statements about armed citizens, and this guy did the right thing. He killed the bad guy, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, so in Polk County, if you use a firearm to defend yourself, you know what I mean, and it's like within reason, like a reasonable situation, yeah, you're safe. You're safe from a spurious prosecution.
So Polk County, Florida, Sheriff Grady Judd said deputies shot and killed a man who charged deputies with garden shears and tried to grab a gun from a patrol vehicle, all after he was attacked by an alligator while swimming across a lake. Judd told reporters on Monday that 42-year-old Timothy Schultz was shot and killed after threatening to harm his deputies earlier in the day. Deputies responded to reports at about 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday of a man who was at a racetrack gas station who was acting bizarre and shaking. Ha ha! All things are possible with meth. When deputies arrived, they searched for the man for about 40 minutes with no success. Then, just before 7:45, a caller said there was a white guy in a nearby lake that is filled with alligators, with one alligator near the man. The caller told the operator the man must be drunk or high or something.
Oh, see, yeah, he did it's like in Fallout fast travel. Like you can use retention ponds to fast travel in Florida. But not if there are enemies nearby. Okay, that's how he got bit by the alligator. But
you mentioned that, Mario. I maybe this is something we could do for streaming. Fallout 76 is in the Fallout universe and it's multiplayer online. So we could multiplayer that, and apparently it takes place in West Virginia because West Virginia has more cryptid sightings than anywhere in the world. They also have a wider variety of cryptids than anywhere else in the world. And so Fallout 76 is set in West Virginia, and all the big scary like boss monsters in the game are based on
got it.
I want to say actual cryptid, like they didn't just make up monsters for the game. They took monsters from pop culture and West Virginia culture.
That makes sense. Like a Deathclaw and a Wendigo are they're it's kind of the same level of horror. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So they bring in things like the sheep squatch. So deputies learned one witness tried to give the man, later identified as Schultz, a life preserver, though he would not take it. Another witness tried to speak with Schultz, but told deputies he growled at the witness. So they ran into the house and locked the door. When deputies arrived, Schultz was seen walking from the lake to an area between houses while holding a set of garden shears. He also reportedly tried to break into a truck by throwing a brick into the vehicle. Oh, I'm glad I got a different story because I grabbed a different story because this one. See, there's the garden shears, the shotgun, and the AR in there. Investigators spoke to one witness who was walking her dog at the time, and she said the man charged at deputies while holding the shears. Judd told reporters the woman questioned why deputies waited so long to shoot, but the sheriff said his deputies were trying to de-escalate the situation. We also tried to tase him on 2 different occasions, and he continued to charge at them.
Yeah, he was in a.
Yeah,
he was in limit break mode. There's no way to stop him at that point other than put him down.
right.
That is sad though. I mean, it's kind of sad. Clearly, basically, probably dehydration, heat exposure, sun exposure. Okay, probably coming down off of meth, plus something probably tragic, chaotic, or was occurring in his life at the time, because he's trying to contact his son, right? I mean, he chose his exit ticket, and I think the police did try to save him, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, he's coming at them with a weapon, and they went for the tasers instead of for the guns. That's mighty considerate.
If you tase him first, then I'm usually pretty understanding of a police shooting, but because it's the police are looking at it like this guy's obviously lost his mind. Okay, he is not in control of his actions right now. Okay, he has no control of what he's doing. But
Verified bear. It's all Florida fun and games until you charge an officer with a bladed implement. Yeah, 100%. So Schultz says it's important. Even Schultz climbed into the passenger side of a patrol vehicle that was running. Judge said Schultz also allegedly tried to grab a rifle or the shotgun out of its holder, and at that moment the deputy shot him multiple times and killed him. So the sheriff goes on to say it's important to focus on this for a second. He tried to assault my deputies with shears. Then he jumped into their vehicle, which is an armed burglary with the shears. Trying to get the rifle or the shotgun out at that moment in time, all the warnings had to stop and the action had to begin. And that's when we shoot him enough to stop the threat. I love that language coming out of the sheriff right there. And that's when we shoot him enough to stop the threat. Judd told reporters that Schultz's criminal record is long, adding that he had multiple methamphetamine arrests. He also said Schultz was released from jail on May 20th. So this guy basically just got out of jail because this story, it's 2 weeks old. This story happened on the 25th, I think it was. And I think it was Memorial Day that it happened. And because like I said, we covered this one last week, and I wanted to bring it back out so we can get Mario in on this one.
Yeah,
I've said over and over, and I'll continue to say it. There are still people. Excuse me. There are still people that. Let me start over. I've said this over and over, and I'll continue to say it. There are still people that want to make the community or the nation believe that drugs are low level and nonviolent. Well, here's your sign.
yep. I mean, Florida's kind of in that a lot of some drugs have made like a notorious debut in Florida, unfortunately, or at least the first time you see them in the news. Like, remember the bath salts turning people into flesh-eating zombies on the streets of Miami? Yeah, that was Florida. Spice, okay, Spice was a big hit, and K2, that was a big hit here in Florida for a while. A lot of teenagers like getting arrested, like committing horrific crimes on synthetic marijuana. Yeah, Florida's a bad state for drugs. It's the heat and sun exposure mixed with like narcotics will make you crazy.
Ron White famously has a story that he tells on stage about getting arrested for possession of marijuana in Florida. Because they landed his plane and the cops showed up. He was, private plane. Cops were waiting for him on the tarmac when he was getting off the bird. And they say, hey, we got an anonymous tip that there's drugs on this plane. And he said, there are not drugs on this plane, and no, you can't search it. Well, we've got a warrant. And they went in and they found 7/8 of a gram. He said they found 7/8 of a gram, but it was enough for him to arrest him. Yeah, it's almost nothing. That's not a whole joint. That's not a.
Oh no, it's like basically a little half a nugget. Yep.
Yeah, little pinner, right?
Yep.
And Ron White, in the bit when he talks about it, he says, "Look, I get it. Arrest me. I'll pay my fine. I'll whatever. But this is fucking Florida, y'all. You had to drive by 3 dead hookers and a meth lab, or 3 meth labs and a dead hooker just to come and pick me up."
Yep.
And it's unfortunately well known for this particular problem. So that's got to be true. You can't make it up. And as a result, this is one more example of how violent people are when they use meth and use drugs. Judd said, when you can swim across the lake, sustain apparent alligator bites, grab the shears, try to break into a vehicle, attack law enforcement officers, jump into the car, try to get their rifle and shotgun, you're out of your mind on drugs. And it's not his first time. He's dead. And, he went through that litany of just what sounds like rampant psychopathy. And he didn't even mention the fact that the guy was tased, was electrocuted twice in the course of this altercation without, and still didn't go down. So, quite frankly, his conduct was outrageous. It was bizarre. Our deputies, by the way, are going to be home safe tonight. And that right there, there is not a number of children in a foreign engagement situation that I will trade for bringing my soldiers home safe at the end of the day. I can absolutely empathize with what the sheriff's saying right there. At the end of the day, my guys got home safe. Yeah, and because those guys are his responsibility. The cracked out nut job meth head is not in the same way.
Yep. Danny, you are correct. You would be surprised how many people smoke dope in Florida. The old folks are getting high. Yes, they are. I said that at the beginning of the show. Yeah, they went basically decades drug-free America, and now that it's semi-legal, yeah, they're all smoking it again, and the ensuing car insurance rates are rising with it. And
yeah, I have a hard time. I have a very hard time philosophically remaining consistent on drug policy because I'm a pretty strict constitutionalist, and the Constitution is pretty clear. Only those powers which are enumerated in the Constitution belong to the federal government. There is no authority in the Constitution for the government to control substances. So to maintain philosophical consistency with my assertions that I've made, like the ATF is a criminal organization based on constitutional law. Everybody who's ever worked for the ATF belongs at the end of a rope, and that's not my opinion. That's the law. Similarly, there are no drug control, drug prohibition laws which are constitutionally tolerable. But at the same time, I cannot reasonably argue. I cannot reasonably sustain an argument that we should just decriminalize everything. But I will say this. People who smoke pot, people who go and get it from the dispensary and take it home and smoke a little dope, even if you had like pot bars where we're going in and sitting down at the bar and say, hey, give me a Coca-Cola and a joint. Pot is not meth. It is not the same thing by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Now you can go down a whole rabbit hole on the whole gateway drug thing, but honestly, I've known a lot of people over the years who smoke a lot of pot, and that's all they ever did. Never interested in anything else, because the difference between what a person experiences when they smoke a little pot or drink a little liquor versus the hallucinogenic or psychotropic, psychoactive elements of things like meth, coke, acid, LSD. Those are, it's one thing to pop a Xanax and take a nap. It is quite another thing to alter your entire uh, perceptual paradigm.
You want to know what the real gateway drug is? Cigarette.
Yes.
Cigarette's a real gateway drug. Well, okay, so let's talk about, you know what? I consider basically heavily, I consider high fructose corn syrup, okay, or very highly sugary products, okay, that children consume. I consider that like a first drug, okay.
Oh yeah. When I was a kid,
it's like drugs for kids, basically.
when I was a kid, I'm going to tell this story and then we'll wrap it up because I know Mario has to get going. And Waller, I see your comment. You've got my number. Send me a text message. Who are you meeting up with? Do I need to come out and have a cold beer with y'all? Let me know. But when I was a kid, we had the lake house on Sinclair, and my dad was pretty. He would tell us that he didn't want us to drink more than one soda a day. And I think he kind of trusted us to stick to that, but I don't think we ever really took it seriously. And we drink, we get down to, we didn't have soda around the house all the time, but when we were down at the lake house over the weekend with the whole big family and doing the kind of beach thing, riding boats, jumping in the water, I'd probably drink, 3 or 4 sodas. And then when I was older, when I was a teenager and early 20s, God, there was a while that I was working in a plant building electrical control systems. I would buy a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew and take it to work with me every day. And I would drink that throughout the day. And I'd usually finish it by lunch and then fill it up with water. But that's a shitload of sugar. And hey, guess what? I'm a type 2 diabetic now. So I'm a bastard to my children about the soda thing.
Yeah.
Dad, can we have a soda? Have you had one today? Yeah. Well then, no. Drink water. Dad, can I have a soda? Have you had one today? No. Well, how about you save it for dinner time?
Or you get the little 8-ounce cans. You know what I mean? But then their response is, well, because they're so much smaller than the normal can of soda, I get to have more. I'm like, no, it's not how it works. I'm like, okay, get a glass, fill it up halfway with ice, and then pour yourself a nice ice cold Coca-Cola or whatever, okay, with plenty of ice. You're not going to drink this stuff like water, okay? So enjoy it. It's a treat, so enjoy it.
Right.
Because it is liquid candy.
This is not a beverage.
Well, it is.
It's candy. This is not a beverage.
Yeah.
Right. This is a treat.
Thomas Waller says cigarettes are a gateway because they put you out toward the fringes of society where the worst stuff resides. I disagree. Cigarettes are a gateway drug because you are lighting something on fire and inhaling it. Okay, you are learning an unnatural behavior, and that can translate into a lot of other drug usage as well. Of course, I guess there is, hanging out behind gym class, smoking butts with your boys in high school. But I wouldn't call that the fringes of society. They grow up to be the fringes of society, but they're not yet. They're not there yet.
The high school I went to in Maine actually had a smoking section outside for the seniors.
Unfathomably based. And
the prevailing wisdom there was we have a few students who are old enough to buy cigarettes and are legally allowed to smoke. So if we don't do this, then they will go somewhere to hide so they can smoke, and that will increase the probability that the younger students get their cigarettes illegally from the 18-year-olds that we have that are about to graduate.
They didn't want to wander the school, like the janitor didn't want to have to wander the school grounds picking up freaking cigarette butts everywhere. It's like, nah, give them a containment zone.
Exactly.
Smart.
By contrast, when I was in high school in Georgia, at Heritage High School in Conyers, Georgia, I would go and sit on the trunk of my car in the parking lot in plain view of everybody and light my cigarette, totally against the rules. And the security guy, Dave, would roll over on his golf cart. The security guy and the resource officer, they would roll over to my car on their golf cart, and they would park in front of me between my trunk and the school, and they would smoke their cigarettes while I smoked mine. And nobody ever yelled at anybody about it. So, Waller, shoot me a text message about who you're meeting up with, and I'll talk to you a little later about that. Apart from that, I know Mario's got to hit the road, and so do I. I've got to go shoot a house this morning. So Mario, you good for a safety brief? Or you want to take this? Come on, don't be a bitch. I know you've done a safety brief.
Oh God, it's been a very long. No, it's been too long, and you've got the Captain Leibschitz whatever spiel memorized.
No, you mean which one? The don't fry bacon naked?
Yeah. Or that.
Okay, no, don't drive, drink, and don't fry bacon naked. That's from Master Sergeant Mike Fager, who was a consummate badass. He was my size, and he was fighting the command system in Hawaii to go down range with us. He wanted to go to Afghanistan with us, and the battalion commander came into our office and dressed him down in front of the company, and he said, "Listen, Mike, we cut one of your lungs out 2 years ago after that shit you did down south. You're not fucking going back to war. You have to have 2 lungs to go to war, Mike." Like, okay.
Leibniz did a detailed, a well-developed analogy between sexual behavior amongst young people and going to the range. That was I like that one. The one about the remember to attach your safety
and it was appropriate. It was appropriate because he was the commander at the Bravo unit in at DLI, and like we were explaining at the beginning of the show, that DLI generally, but that unit specifically, you've got these 17, 18, 19-year-old kids that just got out of basic. They haven't been laid in a quarter of a year. They've suddenly got a little bit of freedom and money. They're not home with mommy and daddy. And they get to put on civilian clothes and go off base on the weekends. And Friday afternoon, you got that final assembly. And Leibschitz comes out, running the unit, and he says, "All right, kids, before you get out there on the range this weekend, I want you to make sure that you've got your blank firing adapter attached and correctly in position. Inspect your equipment. Make sure there are no leaks or malfunctions, and also, before you move that selector switch from safe to semi, be sure that you are watching your lane. We don't want any crossfire into our buddy's area of responsibility. Do not crossfire into your buddy's area of responsibility. You watch your lane."
Yeah. And anyway, he would end it now. Now remember, this weekend, whether you're shooting or getting shot at, everyone would just fucking die.
Yeah. Whether you're shooting or getting shot at. Be safe. The other one that I bring up when I don't feel like doing something original comes from Captain Willie B. Jumper at Goodfellow. He's the one that gave us, "All right, kids, sex, drugs, rock and roll, farm animals, and videotape. No two at the same time."
At the same time. Variations of that one. Yeah. Yep. There are some those things are pretty much across the military. Okay. There's like lores. Okay. that basically people just develop and build on. You know what I mean? It's part of military
Yeah, you
culture.
remember, TK was tapped to give the safety brief at Alpha one time, and he got up and he basically ripped off Leifshitz, firearms
He took
thing,
it
but
next
he
level.
took it so far.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of the blank firing adapter, he was talking about loading your little poopies up into the APC and making sure that when they get dropped off, they get dropped off at the right loading zone.
Yeah.
It was like a 20-minute safety brief, and it was all armored troopers and sex puns. It was
If you're
fucking
gonna get
hilarious.
if you're gonna give an actual poet with a really dark sense of humor, like free reign for creative thought and expression, know what you're asking for. Like,
I mean, hey, TK got his rubber chicken at the village the one night with a poem that began, "When we make love, we fuck like eagles, screaming and clutching toward." Okay. Yeah, you go bring out the you bring out the slam poet to do the army safety brief. It's a magical thing. Hey, Mario.
Yeah.
Is this your people telling you to get a haircut?
I got a fan. I have a fan. Look at that. Yeah, she's really good haircut. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Brittany, if you get over to Rumble tomorrow evening. Okay, so we do need to wrap it up. So Brittany, check this out. Tomorrow evening we're gonna be doing one of our specials. God, is it Friday already? Tomorrow evening we'll be doing one of our specials at 2100. Right, y'all tune in for the special if you are Rumble members. If you are not already a Rumble member and you're one of these people I see out here watching on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Twitch, X, whatever, if you're out there watching on one of the wrong platforms, get yourself over to Rumble. You can always grab grab the link and you can pop over to the show. If you're watching, you'll get over to Rumble, click on the link right there that says Rumble Register Brushfire Mind and sign up for Rumble. Hit the like button, right? Do all the good stuff. And then come back and watch the show tomorrow night. And for the first 10 minutes, we'll be live on all platforms before we go to the Rumble exclusive behind the paywall and kick off all the freeloaders. And in that first 10 minutes, if you are signed into Rumble, watching live, and have made a comment in the live chat, not in the comment section, but in the live chat, you'll be eligible to win a 1 month free Rumble Premium membership. Now that's you'll be a member, a subscribed member of the Brushfire Mind, and with that you get access to all the behind the paywall stuff from Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, Russell Brand, Dr. Disrespect, Salty Cracker, all those guys. Even the Dan Bongino show, which doesn't have Dan Bongino anymore, but it's still a pretty rocking show. So, yeah, y'all come back and see us tomorrow night at 2100. And until then, y'all be safe. We love you. And we will see you tomorrow.
We're going hard on communists tomorrow night. So if you don't like communists, make sure you tune in. All right.
Yes. I joined the army to kill communists. And
yep. In its many flavors. Yes.
In its many flavors. All right, y'all. Be safe. We love you. We will see you tomorrow.
Ciao. What was that?
That was Felicia chasing the chickens off the porch.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't want them on the back porch because they shit all over the place.
Sounded like a little raptors. We got little raptors doing raptor screeches up there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to set up an external camera so that we can occasionally look at the chickens running around in the yard in the morning.
I need to make a little like have the kids make a little like take some type of food and like shape it in the form of like a human, and then film in real close and like get that close up image of like what looks like a huge basically raptor basically just ripping a man apart. That'd be a good video. Do it. Make it a joke.